I came home to find my wife packing designer luggage while our 6-month-old twins screamed in their cribs. She didn't even flinch. "He's worth $50 million," she said, stepping over a diaper bag. 3 years later, she showed up at my door, broken and desperate. But karma wasn't finished with her yet. I thought I had it all figured out. At 32, I was Felix Monroe, a decent architect pulling in a solid salary, married to Scarlett, this gorgeous woman who used to have thousands of followers back when Instagram influencers were just becoming a thing. We had 6-month-old twins, Mason and Harper, and yeah, life was chaotic, but it was our chaos. I'd wake up at 5:30 every morning, tiptoe past the nursery trying not to wake the babies, and head to the firm where I was designing a new community center that could make my career. Scarlett stayed home with the twins, and I thought she was happy. I thought we were building something real, but I was blind, completely, stupidly blind. For months, I'd noticed the sign Scarlett always on her phone, angling it away when I walked into the room. She'd stopped asking about my day, stopped caring when I talked about the project that was consuming my life. Our bed became this cold, distant island where we'd lie back to back, miles apart even though we were inches away from each other. I told myself it was just new parent exhaustion. Everyone said the first year with twins would be brutal. I thought we just needed to push through. I was working late almost every night, trying to secure our future, trying to give her the life she deserved. Meanwhile, she was building a completely different future, one that didn't include me. If you've ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted with everything you had, hit that like button right now, because what I'm about to tell you will make your blood boil. And subscribe, because the karma that comes for her is absolutely savage. It was our anniversary. 4 years since I'd promised to love her forever. I left work early, stopped at the florist for 24 roses, her favorite, the expensive ones. Drove home with this stupid grin on my face, thinking maybe tonight we'd reconnect. Maybe we'd remember why we fell in love in the first place. I walked through the front door, and the first thing I heard was silence. Not peaceful silence, wrong silence. Then I heard it. Both babies screaming from upstairs, that desperate, been crying for us kind of scream that makes your heart stop. I dropped the flowers and ran upstairs. The nursery door was open, and Mason and Harper were in their cribs, faces red and soaked with tears, diapers clearly unchanged for God knows how long. And there, in our bedroom, was Scarlett. She wasn't rushing to them. She wasn't even acknowledging their screams. She was standing in front of our full-length mirror, in a designer dress I'd never seen before, putting on diamond earrings that definitely didn't come from me, with 3 Louis Vuitton suitcases lined. Up by the door like she was heading to some luxury resort. I just stood there, holding those stupid roses, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Scarlett, what's happening? The babies, she didn't even turn around. Just kept fastening those earrings, checking her lipstick, like I'd asked her about the weather. "I'm leaving, Felix." It's just like that. Flat. Matter of a fact, like she was telling me she was running to the grocery store. I felt my entire world tilt sideways, leaving. "What are you talking about? It's our anniversary. It's a twins' name." "Is Jasper Caldwell?" she said, finally turning to look at me with these cold, empty eyes I didn't recognize. "He's worth $50 million. We met at that charity gala 8 months ago, the one you were too busy to attend. He's sending a car in 10 minutes. 8 months. Our babies weren't even born yet when this started." I stood there, roses hanging from my hand like a weapon I didn't know how to use, while my children screamed, and my wife calmly explained how she was trading us in for a better model. The first night alone was hell. Pure, unfiltered hell. Scarlett walked out that door without looking back, without kissing those babies goodbye. And I was left standing in our bedroom holding 2 screaming 6-month-olds, who didn't understand why the only mother they'd ever known just vanished. I tried everything. Bottles, diapers, rocking them, singing to them, my voice cracking because I was crying as hard as they were. At 3 in the morning, I was sitting on the nursery floor with both of them in my arms, all 3 of us sobbing, and I realized I had no idea how I was going to survive this. I called my older sister Nora at dawn. She showed up 2 hours later with suitcases and didn't ask questions, just walked in, took Harper from my shaking arms, and started making bottles like she'd been preparing for this her whole life. She moved into our guest room that same day, and I don't know what I would have done without her. Probably lost my mind completely. The next few weeks were this blur of exhaustion and rage and pure survival instinct. I'd go to work on 2 hours of sleep, mess up measurements, zone out in meetings, until my boss pulled me aside and said, if my performance didn't improve, they'd have to reconsider my position. The project I'd sacrificed everything for, the one I'd missed that gala for, was slipping through my fingers. Meanwhile, Scarlett's face was everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, gossip blogs, she was living this fairy tale life that made me want to put my fist through a wall. Designer gowns at movie premieres. Champagne on yachts in Monaco. Her and Jasper at some tech conference in Dubai, looking like they'd stepped out of a magazine. She'd blocked my number, blocked me on every social media platform like Mason and Harper never existed. Like we were just some embarrassing chapter she'd edited out of her story. My lawyer said the abandonment was clear-cut, but divorce takes time. Custody would be straightforward, given that she'd literally walked away from infant children. But knowing she abandoned them legally didn't make the nights easier. Didn't help when Mason started saying mama at 8 months old, pointing at the door like he was waiting for her to come back. I lost it that day. Just completely broke down. In the middle of folding tiny onesies, and Nora found me on the laundry room floor, holding one of Scarlett's old sweaters and crying like a child. She sat down next to me and said something I'll never forget. She didn't deserve them, Felix. And they're going to grow up knowing real love because of you. That became my mantra. Every sleepless night, every time I saw her posts flaunting her new life. Every moment I felt like I was drowning, I'd look at Mason and Harper and promise them something their mother never could. Real presence, real love. Not the Instagram version, but the 3M fever check version. It's the first steps and scrape knees version. The showing up every single day version. Slowly, impossibly, we found our rhythm. I learned to cook actual meals instead of surviving on takeout. Baby-proofed every corner of that house. Created bedtime routines with bath time and story time that made them giggle instead of cry. 6 months after she left, something shifted. I got promoted. Not the big promotion I'd been chasing, but a solid step up with better hours and better pay. Mason and Harper were thriving, happy, healthy, hitting every milestone. They'd stopped looking for her, stopped asking. I'd stopped checking her social media every night like some kind of masochist. I was building something she'd never understand, a real family, held together by sacrifice and love, instead of money and appearance. I didn't know it then, but karma was already sharpening her knives. Scarlett's perfect life was about to crumble in the most spectacular way possible. 18 months after Scarlett walked out, I barely recognized my own life in the best way possible. The twins were walking now, babbling in that almost language toddlers have. And every morning, they'd toddle into my room and climb onto my bed like it was their personal jungle gym. I had full legal custody. Scarlett hadn't contested it, hadn't even responded to the papers. Her lawyer sent one email: Ms. Monroe waives all parental rights and responsibilities. That's all I was worth. They're worth. A single sentence from a lawyer. She probably paid more than I made in a month. But here's the thing about focusing on what matters: life rewards you for it. My community center project got completed, and the firm made me senior architect. Real recognition, real respect, and enough money that I wasn't lying awake anymore, wondering how I'd pay for daycare and diapers. Nora had moved back to her own place, but she came over 3 times a week for dinner. Mason and Harper didn't remember Scarlett at all. When they said mama now, they were pointing at photos of my mom, their grandmother. Their world was small, but solid, built on people who actually showed up. I'd stopped checking Scarlett's social media. Honestly, I'd blocked her accounts because seeing her face made my stomach turn. But the universe has a funny way of making sure you don't miss the important stuff. My buddy Derek sent me a text one Tuesday morning. Dude, you seeing this? With a link to some celebrity gossip site. There was Scarlett front and center, but the headline wasn't about charity galas or luxury vacations. It was about trouble in paradise. Jasper had been photographed in New York with some 22-year-old model, holding hands, kissing outside exclusive restaurants, the same restaurants he'd taken Scarlett to when he was love-bombing her into leaving her family. I won't lie, I felt this dark satisfaction reading those articles. Watching her Instagram posts become increasingly desperate over the following weeks. Too many couple photos with forced smiles and captions like stronger than ever. And real love conquers all. The kind of posts people make when they're trying to convince themselves more than anyone else. The comment sections were brutal. People asking where her kids were. People calling her out for abandoning her twins. The internet never forgets. And apparently, screenshots of her old posts partying in Paris while I was learning to change double diapers had been making the rounds. Then came the tabloid article that made me actually laugh out loud. Tech mogul Jasper Caldwell's messy split. Prenup leaves ex with nothing. My coffee went cold while I read every word. Turns out, Scarlett had been so eager to lock down her meal ticket that she'd signed an ironclad prenup without even reading it. In her rush to secure the bag, she'd secured absolutely nothing. Jasper had dumped her after his team found messages on her phone. She'd been texting other wealthy men, keeping her options open, probably planning her next upgrade. The man who'd convinced her to abandon her children had tossed her aside. Like yesterday's news, the second she became inconvenient. Her Instagram went completely dark after that. No posts, no stories, nothing. I imagined her somewhere, probably back in her childhood bedroom at her parents' house, staring at the ceiling and realizing what she'd traded away. $50 million it seemed like winning the lottery. Instead, she'd lost everything real she ever had. I got a message request one evening from an account I didn't recognize. It was her, from a new profile with 0 followers. We need to talk about Mason and Harper. I stared at that message for a full minute, then deleted it without responding. She made her choice. She didn't get to remake it now that her plan had crashed and burned. But karma wasn't finished with her yet. Not even close. 3 years. That's how long it took for Scarlett to show up at my door. 3 years of silence, of not existing in her children's lives, of pretending Mason and Harper were just some inconvenient mistake she'd erased. It was a Sunday morning, one of those perfect spring days where everything feels possible. The twins were in the living room building block towers and knocking them down, laughing like it was the funniest thing in the world. I was making pancakes, probably getting more batter on myself than in the pan, when the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and there she was, Scarlett. But not the Scarlett from the glossy Instagram posts or the woman and designer everything who'd walked out of our lives. This Scarlett looked exhausted, worn down. Her clothes were normal jeans and a sweater that had seen better days. No jewelry except her old watch, the one I'd given her for our first anniversary. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she had these dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't hide. For a second, just a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered her stepping over that diaper bag while our babies screamed. "Felix," she said, and her voice cracked. "I know I don't deserve this, but I need to talk to you. About the kids. I need to be in their lives. I'm their mother." Those words hit me like a physical slap. Their mother. After 3 years of nothing, she was standing on my porch claiming motherhood like it was a title she'd earned instead of a role she'd abandoned. "You're not their mother," I said, keeping my voice low because Mason and Harper were just inside. "You're a stranger who gave birth to them. I'm their mother and their father. I'm everything you should have been." Her face crumpled and she started crying, but I felt nothing. No sympathy. No satisfaction. Just this cold, protective fury. "Please, Felix, I made a mistake. I lost everything. Jasper, the money, my career, it's all gone. I'm living with my parents and they won't even look at me. I have nothing left. I need my children back." She actually tried to push past me, tried to look inside at the twins playing innocently in the living room. I blocked the doorway with my body. You don't get to walk back in here like nothing happened. You don't get to use them as your backup plan because your real plan fell apart. That's when she lost it. Started screaming right there on my porch. "I have rights, Felix. They're my children. You can't keep them from me." Neighbors were probably watching, but I didn't care. "You have nothing," I said, and every word felt like a knife I was finally allowed to use. "You didn't call on their first birthday? You weren't there when Harper had pneumonia and we spent 4 nights in the hospital. You missed Mason's first words, first steps, first everything. You chose a bank account over watching them grow. You have nothing. Nora appeared behind me then, and she was holding both twins. Mason and Harper looked at Scarlett like she was a stranger at the door, curious, but not connected. No recognition in their eyes. No reaching out, nothing. Scarlett saw it too, that absence of connection, and it destroyed her. "They don't even know me," she whispered, more to herself than to us. "Please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I need them." I pulled out the legal papers my lawyer had prepared just in case this day ever came. "See this? Legal abandonment. Your parental rights are being terminated. You signed them away when you walked out that door 3 years ago." I handed her the documents and watched her hands shake as she read them. "That's the difference between us, Scarlett. You see them as something you need. I see them as everything I am." She left crying, broken, defeated, and I closed the door on that chapter forever. 2 weeks after Scarlett showed up at my door, my lawyer called with news I never saw coming. "Felix, you need to hear this. Jasper Caldwell's legal team reached out to us." My stomach dropped. I thought maybe he was coming after me for something, some twisted revenge plot, because Scarlett had probably painted me as the villain in her sob story. But it was the complete opposite. Jasper was being investigated for securities fraud major, financial crimes that could put him away for years. And during that investigation, his lawyers found something they thought I needed to know. Text messages. Hundreds of them between Jasper and Scarlett, dating back to before she left. Messages that showed he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew she was married with 6-month-old twins. And he didn't just pursue her anyway, he actively encouraged her to abandon us. Told her the babies were anchors, holding her back from her real potential. Promised he'd handle everything financially so she'd never have to think about us again. There were messages from Scarlett too, and reading them made me physically sick. Her laughing about leaving the burden with me. Calling Mason and Harper the mistake that trapped me. Joking with Jasper about how I was probably crying into baby bottles while she was living her best life. My lawyer said these messages were pure gold for our custody case. The judge took one look at them and didn't even hesitate. Scarlett's parental rights were permanently terminated. No visitation. No appeals. She was legally erased from their lives as completely as she'd tried to erase them from hers. But somehow, karma still wasn't satisfied. Someone leaked those text messages. I don't know who. Maybe someone from Jasper's legal team. Maybe someone who just thought the world deserved to know. They went viral within hours. Scarlett became a cautionary tale. Not just online, but everywhere. Morning talk shows discussing the mother who abandoned her twins for money. Think pieces about toxic parenting and narcissism. She tried to control the narrative, wrote this long blog post about redemption and mistakes in finding herself. The internet destroyed her. People dug up every old post of her partying in Monaco while I was drowning in diapers. Screenshots of her glamorous life next to photos of me at 3 a.m. looking like a zombie, holding 2 crying babies. She became exactly what she deserved to be. A warning about what happens when you choose money over everything real. Meanwhile, my life kept getting better. The firm made me partner with my name on the building. My community center won a regional architecture award, and when I gave my acceptance speech, I didn't talk about design philosophy or creative vision. I thanked the 2 people who taught me what real strength looks like. Mason and Harper, who saved me just as much as I saved them. People in that audience were crying, and I meant every word. Success isn't measured in bank accounts or Instagram followers. It's measured in little hands reaching for you when they're scared, in goodnight kisses that smell like toothpaste, in being someone's entire world and knowing you'll never let them down. The twins' 4th birthday party was everything Scarlett's version of life could never be. Our house packed with real people who actually cared. Nora, my parents, friends who'd shown up during the hard times. Mason and Harper running around in their birthday hats, covered in cake frosting, completely and purely happy. I took a photo of the 3 of us, and looking at it, I saw what she'd really lost. Not $50 million. Not red carpets or designer clothes. She lost the only thing that actually matters, being loved unconditionally by people who needed you and knowing you showed up for them every single day. She thought she was trading up when she walked out that door. Instead, She lost everything worth having, and I gained everything I needed. Karma doesn't always come fast, but when it comes, it's absolutely perfect.